Barry Gibb has spent decades in the spotlight, captivating audiences with his legendary voice and timeless music. But behind the fame, there has always been one constant in his life: his wife, Linda Gray. Now, after years of keeping their private life out of the public eye, Barry is finally opening up about the truth. Join us as we uncover the untold story of Barry Gibb and the woman who changed his life forever. Barry Gibbson's humble beginnings. Barry Gibb was born on September 1, 1946 in Douglas, Isle of Man, a small island between England and Ireland. His full name is Barry Allen Crompton Gibb, and he was born at Jane Crookall Maternity Home. From the start, music was a big part of Barry's life, and his journey toward becoming one of the most successful musicians in history began early. Barry was born into a musical family. His parents, Hugh Gibb and Barbara Gibb, originally came from Manchester, England. Barry had an older sister, Leslie Evans, who was the firstborn in the family. The Gibbs had a rich ancestry, with English, Irish, and Scottish roots. His father, Hugh, was born in Scotland, while his mother had English and Irish heritage. The Gibbs moved to the Isle of Man before Barry was born, and they lived there for several years before eventually moving back to Manchester. Life wasn't always easy for the family, but they were very close, and their love for music brought them together. Barry's father, Hugh Gibb, was a drummer, and his love for music had a major influence on Barry. Hugh played at local hotels in Douglas, and young Barry would often watch him perform. Seeing his father's passion for music sparked something inside him. Barry was fascinated by rhythm, melodies, and the energy that music could create. Even as a child, he felt a strong pull toward music. Barry wasn't the only one in the family with musical talent. His younger twin brothers, Robin and Maurice, were born a few years later, and they would go on to form the legendary Bee Gees together. Their father always supported their musical dreams, encouraging them to follow their passion. Barry's full name includes the middle name Crompton, which has a special meaning in his family. It was chosen to honor Sir Samuel Crompton, a distant ancestor who was known for his contributions to the textile industry. While Barry didn't follow in those footsteps, his name carried a sense of history and pride. Another interesting detail about Barry's name is that his middle name, Allen, was given in memory of his father's younger brother, who passed away in childhood. This shows how much family history meant to Barry's parents, and how deeply they valued their loved ones. From a very young age, Barry showed a strong interest in music. Unlike most kids his age, he wasn't interested in toys or other common childhood activities. Instead, he was drawn to sounds, melodies, and instruments. By the time he was a little boy, he was already singing and experimenting with music. Barry loved listening to records and singing along. His parents quickly noticed his talent and encouraged him to develop it further. Since music was always playing in their home, it became second nature to him. Barry's love for music was clear from the start, but an accident in his childhood could have changed everything. Let's look at what happened next. An accident that changed his early years. When Barry Gibb was just 2 years old, he experienced a life-changing accident. One day, he accidentally pulled a teapot of boiling water onto himself, causing severe burns on his body. The burns were so serious that he had to be rushed to the hospital. Barry spent nearly 3 months in the hospital, recovering from the painful injuries. At such a young age, this was a terrifying experience. Being separated from his family for such a long time was difficult, but his parents and older sister Leslie did everything they could to support him. His mother Barbara was especially devoted, staying by his side as much as possible. During this time, doctors worked hard to treat his burns and prevent infections. In the 1940s, medical treatments were not as advanced as they are today, so Barry's recovery was slow and painful. But even as a toddler, he showed remarkable strength. This accident had a lasting impact on Barry and his family. For Barry, the pain and trauma of the experience stayed with him as he grew up. It was one of his earliest memories, and it shaped his understanding of life, pain, and resilience. Moving to Manchester. In 1949, when Barry Gibb was just 3 years old, the Gibb family moved to 50 St. Catherine's Drive in Douglas, the capital of the Isle of Man. This was an exciting time for the family, as Barry's younger twin brothers, Robin and Maurice, were born in December of that same year. Their arrival made the household even livelier, and Barry quickly took on the role of an older brother. With 3 young children, life in Douglas was busy for Barry's parents, Hugh and Barbara Gibb. Hugh, a drummer and bandleader, often performed music, while Barbara focused on raising the children. Music was already a big part of Barry's life, thanks to his father's influence. As Barry grew, the family moved several times. These relocations meant that Barry attended different schools during his early years. He first went to Braddon School, then Tynwald Street Infant School, and later Desmond Road Boys School. Although he was an active and curious child, Barry was more interested in music than academics. During these years, he discovered his love for singing and performing. Even as a young boy, he enjoyed entertaining others, and his interest in music only grew stronger. In 1955, when Barry was 9 years old, the Gibb family made a major move to Manchester, England. This was a significant change in Barry's life. Moving from the Isle of Man, which was much smaller and quieter, to a big industrial city like Manchester was a big adjustment for the entire family. Manchester was a bustling city full of opportunities but also challenges. The Gibb family settled in Keppel Road, Chorlton, a working-class neighborhood. Life here was different from what Barry had known before. The streets were busier, the people were diverse, and the atmosphere was filled with energy. Although adjusting to life in Manchester wasn't easy, the move played a crucial role in Barry's musical development. The city had a vibrant music scene, and Barry was surrounded by different musical influences. Around this time, Barry and his brothers began experimenting with music more seriously. They would sing together, often imitating popular artists of the time. Barry was developing his voice and also started playing the guitar. In Manchester, Barry also experienced the impact of rock and roll music, which was becoming incredibly popular in the 1950s. He was fascinated by artists like Elvis Presley and Buddy Holly, and their music inspired him. He realized that music wasn't just something fun to do, it could be a real career. Barry's love for music was growing fast, but how did he and his brothers take their first steps into performing? Let's find out. The Rattlesnakes and their first gig. By 1957, Barry Gibb and his younger twin brothers, Robin and Maurice, were growing more passionate about music. Inspired by the rock and roll revolution and the rise of skiffle music, they decided to form a band. They called themselves the Rattlesnakes. The group wasn't just made up of the Gibb brothers. 2 of their friends, Paul Frost and Kenny Horrocks, also joined them. Barry took the lead as the main vocalist and guitarist, while Robin and Maurice added harmonies. Even at a young age, the Gibb brothers were showing their natural musical talent. During the late 1950s, skiffle music was incredibly popular in the UK. It was a raw, energetic style of music that blended jazz, blues, and folk influences. Many young musicians started their careers playing skiffle, including the Beatles' John Lennon and Paul McCartney. The Rattlesnakes were drawn to this sound, using simple instruments like acoustic guitars, homemade basses, and basic drums. They practiced in their homes and on the streets of Manchester, slowly gaining confidence in their ability to perform. By December 1957, the Rattlesnakes were ready to perform in public for the first time. They were scheduled to appear at a local Gaumont Cinema Christmas event, where they planned to lip-sync to a recorded song. However, just before they were about to perform, the record they were supposed to use broke. This meant they could no longer pretend to sing along with it. They had 2 choices: walk away or perform live. Even though they were nervous, they decided to go for it. Barry led the way with his guitar, and Robin and Maurice joined in with their harmonies. Paul and Kenny provided the rhythm. For the first time, they performed live in front of an audience. Despite their initial fear, something incredible happened. The audience loved their performance. The energy of playing live was much more exciting than just pretending to sing along to a record. This unexpected experience gave them a huge boost of confidence. They realized they could actually sing, play, and entertain a crowd. More importantly, they felt the thrill of being on stage, a feeling that would stay with them for the rest of their lives. The Rattlesnakes were just getting started. But how did they evolve into the world-famous Bee Gees? Let's find out. The birth of the Bee Gees. By 1958, Barry Gibb and his younger twin brothers, Robin and Maurice, were ready for a fresh start. Their first band, the Rattlesnakes, had come to an end after 2 of their bandmates left. But the Gibb brothers weren't about to give up on music. Instead, they decided to form a new group, one that would soon become one of the most famous bands in the world. That same year, the Gibb family made a big move. They left Manchester, England, and emigrated to Redcliffe, Queensland, Australia. Their parents, Hugh and Barbara, hoped for a better life in a new country, and this move gave the Gibb brothers a chance to start over musically as well. In Australia, Barry, Robin, and Maurice continued to develop their sound, performing at local clubs and talent shows. Their talent didn't go unnoticed. They soon caught the attention of Bill Gates, a well-known radio DJ in Brisbane. Gates was impressed by the boys' harmonies and their ability to entertain a crowd. He started playing their songs on the radio, helping them gain more exposure. The name Bee Gees came from a combination of Barry Gibb's initials, BG, and the initials of two of their early supporters, Bill Gates and a race car driver named Bill Good. By 1963, the Bee Gees landed their first recording deal with Leiden Records, an Australian label. They released several singles, though success didn't come immediately. At first, their songs didn't make a big impact, and they struggled to find a clear musical direction. During their early years, the Bee Gees worked hard to improve their songwriting. Barry, as the eldest brother, took the lead in writing songs, but Robin and Maurice also contributed. They experimented with different styles, blending rock, pop, and folk influences. Their first real breakthrough came in 1966 with the release of Spicks and Specks. The song became a huge hit in Australia, marking their first major success. Encouraged by this, they decided to return to England in 1967 to try and make it in the international music scene. When they arrived back in the UK, the Bee Gees met Robert Stigwood, a powerful music manager who recognized their potential. He helped them sign with Polydor Records in the UK and Atco Records in the US. From there, their career took off. Their first international album featured hit songs like To Love Somebody and New York Mining Disaster 1941. The world was starting to notice their unique vocal harmonies and emotional songwriting. As the 1960s turned into the 1970s, the Bee Gees reinvented themselves, moving from soft rock to a more rhythmic, dance-oriented sound. This change led to their legendary disco era, where they dominated the music charts with Stayin' Alive, Night Fever, and How Deep Is Your Love. A short-lived first marriage. In 1966, at just 19 years old, Barry Gibb married Maureen Bates. At the time, Barry was still an up-and-coming musician, working hard to establish himself with the Bee Gees. The marriage, however, was short-lived, and the couple eventually went their separate ways after only a few years together. Not much is publicly known about Barry's relationship with Maureen before they got married. What is clear is that they tied the knot at a young age, a time when Barry's career was just beginning to take off. The Bee Gees had returned to England in 1967, and their music was gaining international attention. The demands of his rising career likely put pressure on his personal life. Barry and Maureen's marriage ended sometime in the late 1960s, though the exact date of their separation is not well documented. With the Bee Gees becoming more famous, Barry's focus was on music, and his personal life seemed to follow a different path. The couple grew apart, and their marriage quietly came to an end. Though Barry's first marriage didn't last, it paved the way for something even greater, his lifelong love story with Linda Gray. But how did they meet, and how did their relationship stand the test of time? Let's dive into that next. Barry Gibb and Linda Gray. Barry Gibb first laid eyes on Linda Gray on the set of Top of the Pops in 1967. At the time, Barry was a rising star with the Bee Gees, and the group was performing their hit Massachusetts. Linda, only 17 years old, had just been crowned Miss Edinburgh and was in London as part of her modeling career. During the show, Barry couldn't help but notice Linda. He was mesmerized by her beauty and grace, and throughout the performance, his eyes kept drifting toward her. There was something about her that felt different, something special. After the show, Barry gathered the courage to approach Linda. Instead of using a flashy pickup line or trying to impress her with his growing fame, he simply invited her for tea. That small gesture was the beginning of something extraordinary. Linda accepted the invitation, and from that moment on, the two were inseparable. They spent hours talking, quickly realizing how much they had in common. Linda wasn't just beautiful, she was kind, supportive, and had a strong sense of self. For Barry, who was navigating the pressures of fame, Linda's presence was a breath of fresh air. As the Bee Gees became more famous, Barry's life became more hectic. The band was constantly touring, recording, and making television appearances. Many relationships in the entertainment industry struggle under such pressure, but Linda was different. She didn't seek the spotlight. Instead, she provided stability and support, grounding Barry during the wild ups and downs of fame. Through every triumph and every challenge, Linda stood by his side. She wasn't just his partner, she became his rock, giving him the strength to keep going. Barry and Linda's love grew stronger with time. They married in 1970, and their bond only deepened. Unlike many celebrity relationships that fade, theirs continued to thrive. They built a beautiful family together, raising 5 children while Barry maintained his legendary career in music. Building a family amid fame. In 1970, Barry Gibb and Linda Gray took their love story to the next level when they got married on Barry's 24th birthday, September 1st, at Posh Khan Hall in London. It was a beautiful and intimate ceremony, marking the beginning of a lifelong commitment. While many celebrity marriages struggle under the pressure of fame, Barry and Linda's bond only grew stronger over the years. Unlike many Hollywood and music industry relationships that come and go, Barry and Linda's marriage has endured for more than 50 years. Their secret? A deep understanding, mutual respect, and unwavering support for one another. Linda wasn't just Barry's wife, she became his biggest supporter and his anchor through the highs and lows of his career. Throughout the decades, Barry remained a prominent figure in the music world. But no matter how busy life got, family always came first. His marriage with Linda provided him with stability, something he valued immensely as he navigated the challenges of global fame. Raising a family together. Barry and Linda built a beautiful life together, welcoming 5 children into their family: Stephen, Ashley, Travis, Michael, and Alexandra Gibb. Raising children while being one of the biggest music stars in the world was no easy task. The Bee Gees were at their peak, and Barry's schedule was often filled with tours, recordings, and public appearances. However, he always made time for his family. He wanted to be a present and loving father, ensuring that his children knew they were his top priority. Linda played a huge role in keeping the family life normal and stable. While Barry was often in the spotlight, Linda chose to keep their home life private. She ensured that their children had a down-to-earth upbringing, despite their father's worldwide fame. As Barry's career continued to reach new heights, his family remained his greatest source of happiness. But how did he handle the pressures of fame while staying true to himself? Let's take a closer look. Becoming an example to his children. Barry's eldest son, Stephen Gibb, developed a love for music early on, but unlike his father's style, Stephen was drawn to rock and heavy metal. He became a talented guitarist and songwriter, working with well-known bands like Black Label Society and Saigon Kick. While his music was different from the Bee Gees' signature sound, Barry supported his son's passion and was proud of his success in a completely different genre. Unlike Stephen, Ashley Gibb wasn't initially interested in music. He had other ambitions, but that changed when he wrote a song for his fiancée. Barry recognized his son's natural talent and encouraged him to pursue songwriting. Over time, Ashley embraced music and eventually collaborated with his father on various projects, proving that the Gibb family's musical legacy continued in unexpected ways. Barry always believed that music was meant to be shared, and he found ways to include his sons in his work. One of the most significant moments of collaboration was in 2005, when Barry worked on an album with Barbra Streisand, Guilty Pleasures. His sons played a role in the project, learning from their father's experience and adding their own touch to the music. Later, in 2015, Barry released his solo album, In the Now, and once again, his sons were involved in the creative process. These collaborations were more than just musical projects. They were moments that brought the family closer together, strengthening their connection through a shared love for music. Barry's final confession. Barry Gibb has often spoken about how his wife, Linda Gray, has been the steady force in his life. He credits Linda for saving him from the dangers of fame, including the temptations of substance abuse that affected many around him, including his own brothers. While Robin and Maurice Gibb struggled with addiction at different points in their lives, Barry took a different path. He has said in interviews that he never fell into the same patterns because Linda kept him strong and reminded him of what truly mattered. Her love and support gave him the stability he needed, especially during the Bee Gees' biggest years, when they were under constant pressure from the music industry. Linda's role wasn't just about keeping Barry away from bad influences. She also helped him stay humble and focused on family. Unlike many celebrities who lost themselves in fame, Barry remained committed to his marriage and his children, always making time for them no matter how busy his career became. Fame often brings temptations, but Barry has always been faithful to Linda. He has openly shared stories about moments when he was pursued by other famous women, including Australian tennis champion Yvonne Goolagong. However, Barry never wavered in his love for Linda. In interviews, he has said that no one could ever take her place because she was not just his wife, she was his best friend and biggest supporter. An untold childhood trauma. Barry Gibb has always been known for his musical genius and dedication to his family, but in a rare and emotional interview with Radio Times, he opened up about a traumatic childhood experience that he had never spoken about before. The legendary Bee Gees singer revealed that, at just 4 years old, he was a victim of an attempted abuse. Barry recalled the horrifying moment when a man tried to take advantage of him. Although the individual never physically touched him, Barry made it clear that other things happened, not just to him, but to other children as well. It was a painful memory he carried for decades, one that he had never shared publicly until that interview. The incident was serious enough that the man was eventually arrested, and Barry had to speak with the police about what had happened. He described a haunting scene, being just 4 years old, lying in bed, and having a policeman sitting next to him in the early hours of the morning, asking him difficult questions. "If that doesn't teach you about life, nothing does," Barry said. It was a harsh and painful reality for someone so young to face. Barry admitted that even as he spoke about it as an adult, he struggled with whether he should be bringing it up after so many years. He questioned if it was something that should remain in the past or if it was important to acknowledge. But the fact that it remained so vivid in his memory made it clear how much of an impact it had on him. Personal loss for Barry Gibb has experienced incredible highs throughout his career, but his journey has also been marked by heartbreaking losses. The deaths of his younger brother Andy Gibb in 1988, his twin brother Maurice Gibb in 2003, and Robin Gibb in 2012 tested his strength in ways few can imagine. Through it all, Barry found comfort in the unwavering support of his wife, Linda Gray, who stood by his side during his most difficult moments. Andy Gibb was the youngest of the Gibb brothers and a rising star in the music industry. With hits like Shadow Dancing and I Just Want to Be Your Everything, he quickly became a pop sensation in the late 1970s. However, behind the scenes, Andy struggled with substance abuse. His addiction impacted both his personal life and career, leading to financial troubles and lost opportunities. By the mid-1980s, Andy was trying to rebuild his life. Barry and the rest of the family supported his efforts to get clean, but the years of substance abuse had taken a toll on his health. On March 10, 1988, just days after his 30th birthday, Andy died of myocarditis, a heart condition that was worsened by his past drug use. For Barry, losing Andy was devastating. He often blamed himself, feeling that he could have done more to help his younger brother. In later interviews, Barry admitted that Andy's death left a hole in his heart that could never be filled. Maurice Gibb was not only Barry's younger brother, but also his twin. As one-third of the Bee Gees, Maurice played a crucial role in shaping the group's sound. His skills as a musician, producer, and harmony vocalist were essential to their success. In early 2003, Maurice was admitted to the hospital for severe stomach pain. Doctors discovered he had a twisted intestine, a condition that required emergency surgery. Tragically, complications arose, and Morris suffered cardiac arrest. He passed away on January 12, 2003, at the age of 53. Barry was devastated. He and Morris had spent nearly their entire lives together, creating music and sharing unforgettable experiences. Without him, Barry felt like a part of himself was missing. The pain of losing Maurice was so intense that Barry initially refused to perform Bee Gees songs, as it was too emotional to sing without his brother. Nearly a decade after Maurice's passing, Barry faced another heartbreaking loss. Barry Gibb, his last surviving bandmate and twin brother to Maurice, had been battling colon and liver cancer. Despite undergoing treatment, his condition worsened. In 2012, Robin slipped into a coma. Barry and the rest of the family stayed by his side, hoping for a miracle. Robin briefly regained consciousness and even tried to communicate with his loved ones, but his body was too weak to fight any longer. He passed away on May 20, 2012, at the age of 62. With Robin's death, Barry became the last surviving BG. The weight of losing all three of his brothers was overwhelming. Barry later admitted that he struggled with survivor's guilt, wondering why he was the only one left. Through all these heartbreaking losses, Linda Gray, Barry's wife of more than 50 years, was his source of strength and stability. She helped him process his grief and reminded him that despite the pain, he still had a loving family to lean on. Barry has spoken openly about how Linda kept him from falling into depression. Unlike his brothers, Barry never struggled with substance abuse, something he credits to Linda's guidance. She made sure he focused on the positives in life: his children, his music, and their shared love. Even in the darkest moments, Linda remained Barry's anchor, ensuring that he did not drown in sorrow. He often describes her as his greatest blessing, the person who has been by his side through every triumph and every heartbreak. If you enjoyed this inside look into Barry Gibb's life and love story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our latest videos on celebrity journeys. Drop a comment below. What do you think is the secret to their lasting love?